Borsky, my Borsky. My name is Vladimir, and I'm gonna nuke you. So run away, Ukrainians. I am the future. Bow before me, you bossies. Welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. My name is Christopher Belly. I'm a certified CPA accountant. I'm a fake boglehead investor. I'm author of the book Stop Being a Broke Loser. It's on Amazon. And my nose is really itching right now. But we got to talk about a serious thing of the potential for nuclear war. Now, have I studied Russian history in depth? I mean, I know a little bit of it. And have I done a probability analysis of whether Russia is going to use nukes in Ukraine? Maybe. I mean, no, not really. But do I think that if Russia does use nukes, do I think that I'm going to sell my entire stock portfolio and buy gold because it's the end of the world? No. As a matter of fact, if I wake up tomorrow morning, and I'm tired, so tired from making YouTube videos, pleasing you clowns. If I see that Russia has used some kind of tactical nuclear weapon in Ukraine, number one, I'm sure markets will be absolutely freaking annihilated out of abject fear of nuclear war, because nuclear war is the end of the world. But you got to remember something, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? If Russia uses a tactical nuke in Ukraine, however likely that is not the end of the world. Okay? And if you remember, in World War II, the United States dropped pretty low-yielding, relatively, nuclear weapons onto Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We killed, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, and the world did not end. Now, granted, back then, we were the only ones with nuclear weapons, but there's this very simple concept called mutually assured destruction. And my thought process is, well, number one, let's say Russia drops a nuke and, it blows up a brigade of Ukrainian freedom fighters or whatever. Is that the end of the world? Is the world gone? No, it's not. They just, generated a bunch of nuclear fallout and killed a bunch of people, and probably killed their own soldiers too with all the radiation. But it's not the end of the world, okay? Now, if the United States launches a nuke at Moscow, and then Moscow launches nukes at the United States, and then before you know it, there's all these ICBMs flying everywhere, and every major city around the globe gets absolutely obliterated in fiery destruction. That's the end of the freaking world. But think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. If the world actually does get absolutely annihilated, why does it matter whether you sold your stocks or not? But what if Putin actually does use a nuke in Ukraine and it doesn't escalate, and then 10 years from now, we read about it in a history book, but the world still goes on? Because at some point, this war in Ukraine will end. It may take a year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't freaking know. At some point, this war will end. And if Putin uses a couple tactical nukes, however stupid you might think that is, and it just scares the crap out of the world will still be here. But if he launches nukes and then we respond, he launches a nuke at, a brigade of Ukrainians, and we nuke Moscow. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you sold VT or not anyway. It's freaking gone. The world is absolutely over. But I'm going to tell you, I really think this is just my opinion, is that if Putin nukes a brigade in Ukraine, or nukes a city, which that'd be kind of crazy because he's trying to take it over, I don't think we'll respond with nukes. I think we'll respond with sanctions, because at the end of the day, if we respond by nuking Russia, that is the end of the world. We didn't do it during the Cold War for 50 years. We never got to that level. But if he nukes a small unit in Ukraine and we respond with an escalation, which it is an escalation, of nuking a Russian city or nuking one of their units, and then they shoot nukes back at us, then the world's freaking gone. Okay? But you got to understand the concept of mutually assured destruction. I'm sure a lot of you have read about this. I mean, it's a pretty common knowledge thing. But the doctrine states that a full-scale use of nuclear weapons by an attacker on a nuclear-armed defender with second strike capabilities would cause the complete annihilation of both the attacker and the defender. That's why there was never a nuclear war, because the USA and the USSR, they both knew if they nuked each other, it'd be the end of the world. So why would any sane person, if Putin uses a tactical nuke in Ukraine, why would we respond with some kind of nuclear escalation? Then we're moving towards world destruction. But if he uses a tactical nuke in Ukraine, we can sanction him, we can condemn him, blah, 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 blah. And stocks are probably getting annihilated. And guess what? I'll still keep buying, because if the world ends, I'm dead anyway. But if the world doesn't end, which is far more likely in my opinion, because I don't think we'll escalate, 10 years from now, no one they'll remember it, but it won't be as big of a deal. Okay. Now the question is, everybody's obsessed about this, and I guess there is a concern. Now, I'm not an expert on Russian military doctrine, and I'm not even an expert on U.S. doctrine. I mean, I was an infantry officer, but I was like at the company level. I was a platoon leader, and then I was in a staff for a squadron, a battalion. So I'm not like in tune with like broad army doctrine. But I don't really remember reading doctrine about us like using nukes if we start to lose a war. I don't know. Maybe I missed that. But you can read here. Behind this growing concern is the Russian military doctrine of escalate to de-escalate, that if Russia is facing the prospect of a defeat due to Western conventional superiority, it would consider using nuclear weapons to force the West back down. Today, Russia's losing in Ukraine, I guess. And while Moscow has threatened to go nuclear since the beginning, the rhetoric has become more apocalyptic, okay? The United States, Europe, and Ukraine are increasingly concerned that Russia will carry through with its nuclear threats. And this article is basically like beseeching the United States. Fear, however, should not drive the Western response to Putin's Russia's nuclear bluster. Blah, 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 blah. But, like I said, if a nuke happens, which, personally, I still think it's unlikely. I mean, maybe what he will do is like, to really, if the war really starts going bad and this whole mobilization fails, maybe he'll drop a little tiny one. I don't think it's going to be the end of the world, and I'm not going to change my investing plan in the slightest, because if we get nuked, we all die anyway. And if we don't, 10 years from now, I think the stock market will, or even 20 years, it'll be a lot better than it is right now. So that's kind of my thoughts. Let me know yours. By the way, we are really involved in this whole, we're supplying the Ukraine. Think about you remember like the Cuban Missile Crisis in like the early 60s, where the USSR was like shipping nukes to Cuba. And Cuba's not far from Florida. It's like right next to the United States. And the United States was freaking out. Oh my God, which obviously it's a good reason why. And we almost came to a nuclear crisis, a nuclear war, because we were not going to let the Soviets put nuclear weapons in Cuba. And eventually they backed down and sent their ships back. But that was a pretty significant crisis. And if you kind of think about it, like Ukraine is on the border of Russia. And now Ukraine is like tilting heavily towards Western influence. And now Putin has like a nightmare. It's like he has basically a hostile power that's allied with, his enemies in Western Europe. I'm not surprised he invaded. I guess looking back, I'm not surprised. When is the rear rabble making a comeback? I'll try next weekend. This weekend I got crap going on. It's the guy who got rejected here. We up in this business. Just seen a video about a more inferior DCF tool. Where can I find that? Everything Money. Thank you for explaining the end of the world for me, Captain. Now I feel more intelligent than Jeremy. Honestly, like if a nuke went off, I would probably be buying. I'm serious. I have like, I don't have like spare investable cash. I have my savings account. It's freaking internet's pissing me off. International stocks crash way more than U.S. stocks in this kind of scenario. People prefer to invest in this because of the events like, yeah, that's probably true. But like I said, even if they do crash, maybe you're getting them cheaper. Because if he nukes Ukraine, in 10 years, will that really matter to Germany, German stocks or UK stocks or French stocks? I don't think it will. Do you drive a school bus on the side? You look like my son's school bus driver. Yes. No, I don't. When I was dating your father, he had a nice pair of Jordan 1s. All right, well, that's my thoughts. Basically, I'm never selling VT. Okay, it doesn't matter. Nukes. I mean, I've said it before. Oh, I might sell it, but honestly, I ain't selling VT ever. That's true diamond hands. I wonder what happened to Tattooed Chef though if there was a nuclear war. All right, that's it, guys. Cheers.